So, hello everybody. Steve Mills here. It's great to be back with you on my results podcast, which is all about how to get more, how to do better, how to raise your game and get to what I call the elite level. Now, today I'm with a young man, and I use that term very loosely, someone who I've known literally for, well, I dread to think, it's certainly best part of, let's work it out, it must be about 40 years, which is quite scary. But whether you listen to me on the podcast, on YouTube, my website, Facebook, whatever, I really hope you're going to enjoy this interview, because this young man, somebody I met when he was 11 and I was probably about, I can't remember, about 18, something like that. And he comes from the world of table tennis. Some of you know that back years ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I was a pretty good table tennis player. I played full-time professionally for 10 years. And I was about 18, so I was getting, starting to get into the top 20 in England, something like that. And I played this young guy who's about 11, who everybody told me was going to be a really good player. But I thought, you know what, I'm gonna pound him down. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to show him who's the best player. And immediately went on and I think lost 2 straights to this young guy. So without further ado, welcome Alan Cooke. It's great to have you on the program, and thank you ever so much for your time in being here.
Morning, Steve. No, great to catch up with you again. We obviously spent a lot of time together in those early years, and unfortunately, life takes you in different routes, different pathways. Yeah. We haven't spent a lot of time, so yeah, great to catch up with you recently.
It's great to have you. It really is. Do you want to just tell everybody a little bit about you? And I was trying to think. How many times was he English champion? I'm sure he was Commonwealth champion as well, and I know about the World Veteran Championships. So just give people an overview of what you did in your table tennis career and what you're doing now, if you would, please.
Okay. As you rightly said, it's been a long career really, and I fell in love with the sport at 10 years of age. I played all sports. Very lucky to get started really, in the sense that I was a footballer, and we were rained off. Came inside to watch a table tennis exhibition from a friend of both of us that we'll obviously talk a little bit more about later on. But Colin Dean did an exhibition at the school, and literally just from that moment enthused me and my passion, my love for the sport, which has always been there. And that first contact with table tennis and the skills around it and the excitement and so on, I was literally bought in from that moment on. Wow. So I knew even and that story when I met you at 11, you, as I said to you, you were top 20 in England, the best local player, doing well. And I, even at that point, I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to play sport. Table tennis I was playing all sports, but I love table tennis. I love the fact that it was a one-to-one. It's me against you. At football, I'm 5'7" at best. And it was in the days when if you weren't tall enough, that guy that's 6 foot, he'll get the call. He's the striker. And I didn't like that fact that it was someone else's opinion about how good you were. So that was another attraction for me to table tennis. Yeah. It's me against you, and if I don't beat you this time, I can go away, get better, and I'll come again. And and I did have that mentality, that resilience, and I love that. And I was brought into the sport at that age. We obviously had an amazing experience together, which I think we're going to talk a little bit about when we traveled doing exhibitions around the country, until eventually I turned professional. I say professional. We didn't earn a lot of money in them early days, but I literally left school, and at 16 I was playing the sport full time. And I didn't earn a lot of money, if I'm honest. For the next 5 years, it was all about getting better, and every penny that I earned, I put back into the sport. Get you better. And I both. So it was an investment, and
I never earned any money.
Sorry?
I never earned any money, I don't think, the whole time. Just about enough to survive pay my petrol to get to the next thing. I think we both should have played football. Would have been much richer. I had a slight problem that I was rubbish at it, but apart from that, I think I could have been definitely playing Sheffield Wednesday. I'd have probably got in the team today, actually, the way we're playing at the moment. But that's another story.
So yeah, I mean, I went on to play full time. I lived in Sweden. Sweden were the best country in the world.
Yeah.
Better than China at that moment. So I was really fortunate to get picked up out there. It was a stroke of luck. In some ways, it was that they contacted me. So I went to live out there, but living and playing amongst the best players in the world. And I did have a great grounding. I was ready mentally and physically when I went to live out there. So it all happened very quickly from the age of 18, the progress that I made into becoming, at that time was a world-class player.
So, remind us, how many times were you like English champion, Al? I can't.
Singles, six times.
Six times in the singles. You were Commonwealth as well, weren't you?
I was Commonwealth singles champion. I won 5 Commonwealth gold medals with a team as well.
Did you? Right.
The team was very strong. European, 2 European silvers, 2 European bronze medals, and 1 World Cups bronze medal with a team as well. So,
yeah.
And
I played a little bit above my level, I'd say, but
it's over a long period. It was over a long period.
Yeah, sure.
I stopped playing, Steve. I retired at 31, which I think I burnt out, if I'm honest, at that stage. You know, and also I think in that era we believed that when you got to 30, you were past it.
Yeah.
I completely I missed the sport. I was, really, I searched for 3-4 years, got into the coaching world, and I enjoyed coaching, but it didn't give me the sense of satisfaction that playing and I got myself fit again. First and foremost, I got fit again and started playing, and then I never got back to the standard from the age of 35 to 40 that I was, but I loved it. I loved doing stuff from that age the way that I wanted to do it, and all the things that I'd learned in that first career, putting it together and doing it my way was really empowering for me. So I retired ultimately from playing. I retired after I wanted to play a Commonwealth Games. So we had lots of Commonwealth Championships, but that was the Commonwealth Games, the multi-sport bit. So I played that in Melbourne in 2006 and retired thereafter, and that's when I won the World Veteran Championships that same year.
I remember John Hilton, who's a player that we both know, became European champion, telling me that that you were the fittest person that he'd ever met. And that's quite a compliment coming from John, because he was
absolutely.
he was as fit as a butcher's dog, wasn't he?
And again, he was a huge inspiration, Steve. When he won that European Championships, I think he was 30. He was classed as old when he won that. But he was I mean, incredible.
And it was an event that really, how did he win that? He was
absolutely
1,000 to 1 apparently, the odds. It was like,
and that again was an inspiration that somebody, because at that point I remember going to school and my school teacher saying, what about that English guy that's won the European Championships? And I went, Desmond Douglas.
Yeah.
He said John Hilton, and I'm only 12, and I didn't actually know who John Hilton was at that point.
Wow.
But there 6 months less than that, 4 months later, he's doing a tour of Britain, doing exhibitions as European champion, and there I am, same as it was with you, playing against him, and it was just awesome, really. And he was again a real hero of mine as a young player.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wanted to come on and talk to you about, again, somebody who was a huge influence in your career, my career. And we all had so many people, didn't we? I know for you, there was Derek Marples, who, again, really helped me in my career too. And, we had John and Nijek and loads of people that we knew and practiced with. Martin Kinsella, who we both know, who sadly passed away a little while ago. But one guy I'm sure stands out in amongst all of them, and that is, as I know you know who I'm going to talk about here, and that is Colin Dean. Colin, wow, I think for me, the one thing Colin did is he gave me confidence you know, as a young man, I was quite a shy guy. I don't think I was that confident. And he gave me not only the confidence, but also the opportunity to play professionally. You know, I mean, both our dads helped us a lot in our careers. And, you know, we could sit here thanking everybody that helped us for ages. But I know for Colin, what Colin did for me, he gave me the opportunity to play full time by employing me to do table tennis exhibitions along with yourself and other people, to earn at least a reasonable amount of money so I could survive in a sport that really didn't pay a great deal of money. The other thing Colin did is in business. I always remember he used to say, one of his cliche sayings was, "Get selling, get selling," and he, you know, he always used to say that, and something I remember all these years later. You know, get selling, and I often talk to people now in business and say to them, look, get selling. Pick up. I literally say, pick up the bloody phone. Pick up the phone and get selling. Stop, doing the crap that doesn't work and start doing the stuff that does. And what's your recollection of Colin? And
yeah, I mean, a larger than life character. Without Colin, we wouldn't be here talking. I mean, he's influenced our lives massively, but, and as I said earlier, it was from the moment I first met Colin. He was one of them characters that, he introduced me to the sport. I was bought, I was sold into it. That was it. The enthusiasm and so on, the personality that he brought to it was just, it was incredible.
He was an amazing salesman and marketer, actually, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think the other key bit for you that you just picked up is the same for me, in the sense that the confidence that he gave you, it was always, you can do this. And I remember sat there listening, and Desmond Douglas was winning his 8th English championship or whatever it was at that time, or in one day that could be you, and I'm in the corner thinking, can be me. But why not? Why not me? Maybe the other kids around me didn't see it like that, but I was the dreamer that did, and and I think that's ultimately what you want kids to believe, that they can, not trying to sell them a story that they, things that are impossible, but actually these things are possible. And Colin always that seed that this is possible, this can be you. You know.
One of my memories, and you were there at the time, was and one of the reasons why I think I've spent a lot of my career being in front of people, talking to groups, talking to audiences. Been all over the world, and Singapore and all sorts of places, speaking at big conferences in front of 1,000 people and so on. I remember being at the Pontins Holiday Centre at Canberra Sands. And we were just about to go out, you and I, to do a table tennis exhibition in front of about 5,000 people. And Colin was there, and Colin was always the MC on the microphone, introducing the players and talking and telling people about the game and so on. And there was an emergency phone call for him. Somebody needed to talk to him, and he said, "Right, Alan, you're going on. You're doing the challenges. Steve, you're going to do the microphone." Handed me the microphone. I had to walk out and talk in front of 5,000 people, and I have never been shitting myself as much in my life, to be honest. And I've always thought nothing ever could be. I got to talk for 40 minutes with like 30 seconds notice, and nothing could ever be more scary than that. So I think that was one of the things that was great about what we did as table tennis players. We got ourselves in front of thousands of people. I wonder how many people have watched you and I play table tennis. I dread to think it's probably, I don't know, maybe 1 million people have watched us over the years do exhibitions. And certainly we were often in front of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people at a time. And in sport, that's a real big thing, because it's tough to have the confidence to go out in a final of a major international tournament.
Wow. And it molded so much for me. I was in essence, I was a shy kid. I was always the one that was hiding away at the back, didn't want to answer the questions, didn't particularly love school. I didn't hate it, but I wanted to play football. I wasn't far away by the end because I knew what I wanted to do. But actually, the experiences that we had with Colin, going, as you said, on the spot, you're there talking, instead of having a bat in your hand, you've got a microphone in your hand. And I'm there leading this exhibition at 11, 12 years old when you're supposed to be the star of the show at the other end. But actually that experience and that confidence of putting on a show and being able to, make the audience laugh and, and woo and, it was unbelievably empowering and pressure, but in a really positive way that made us want to come back and do it over and over again. And you remember, we were doing 35 shows a week. Traveling the length and breadth of the country,
2,000 miles a week.
Unbelievably tired at the end of it, but the energy that we had doing it, we'd come alive as soon as we went out there. You just come alive, and it was an incredible experience that we had, and amazing.
It really was. It really was. Let me ask you a question. If you were talking now to an 11-year-old Alan Cooke, what would you tell them? What advice would you give your younger self?
Do you know what? I wouldn't change anything that I did, but I think circumstances are somewhat different. I think there are different opportunities available for young players. But I think the one thing that I'm really proud that I did, I dreamt about being, a tennis player. And I went for it. I didn't hold back. I didn't.
What was your goal, Al? What was your goal? What were you trying to achieve?
When I first set out, I wanted to just play the sport for a living because I loved it. I just wanted to immerse myself and play every day. As I started to understand, actually I've got to earn a few pounds here. I've got to make some money. But, otherwise this is indefinite.
You can't do it.
I knew I had to be on their level. But actually the thing that motivated me, Steve, was winning medals and being in a team that could compete, because that, you eventually you get bored if you're going away and you're getting beat every week and you're not getting better. There's no signs of that changing. It, eventually that's why people retire early. They realise what they thought.
I did exactly that. I got to be about 28 and I thought, do you know what? I'm probably not going to get any better than this. Let's go and do something else now, and I do regret that in many ways, because I probably, could have stuck around for a few more years, and who knows, I was still in the top 10 in England at the time, and I just went from playing full time to, right, that's it, I'm not going to play anymore, and went on and did something else.
And I think it's about being smart in your choices. A lot of people even now think that just going abroad, because Des was successful, or Carl Preen, or me, when we went abroad, that's the magic wand. It's not. The reason that these guys were successful and I was successful is because we went abroad, we learned, we worked hard every day, we had a plan, and we adapted that plan as and when. So it's not just going to happen because you go abroad and play in Germany. You've got to be working in the right way with the right people. The right couples.
I went to Germany myself, as you probably remember, and played there. And I played for a reasonable team to start with in Mannheim. My biggest problem actually was the quality of the opposition. The players in my team, I was like head and shoulders the best player. And so, before, where I used to practice with yourself and John Hilton, Nigel Eckersley, people like that, I was playing with people that were at least as good as me, if not better than me, pretty much most of the time. And in Germany, I found that very difficult until I managed to get the opportunity to go and practice at Saarbrücken with people like Stellan Bengtsson and Georg Böhm and Peter Engel and people like that. And that was just, fantastic. We all lived together in an apartment block. And I used to just go and visit and spend a bit of time with those guys. And it was just awesome. Absolutely awesome. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about as well is I really do believe, and I've always done so, that in sport and business, it's really about attitude. And if you're good at sport, then there's a good chance that if you bring that attitude, that belief, that enthusiasm, that goal setting, all the things that you need to be good at table tennis or football or whatever it is, if you bring that into business, you can be very successful in business. And I know, some of the players back in our day have gone on to be, just phenomenally successful in business. Some of them many, many millions and millions of pounds in income in their business. And just wonder what your thoughts were around that. I know you've stayed in table tennis, but I think that the key to being successful is around, work hard, take action, believe
Absolutely.
in yourself, and so on. And it's the same in sport and business, isn't it?
And I think you're right. You're far more qualified than I am, Steve. Like you said, I chose to stay in the sport and didn't go down that route. I know a lot of successful athletes have gone into the business of going into businesses and sharing the experiences they had in sport and the similarities that there are. And I think you're right. The traits are very similar. The work ethic, and not waiting to do tomorrow what can be done today. I think that, and the resilience, if you fail first time, I'll learn from that. I'll pick myself up and I'll try again. And I think there are so many traits, my small experience of talking with businesses and I run a summer school and it's on a very, very small scale. That's the business side of me. That's as much as business as I do outside of the sport. But it is about that. There are some very similar traits in both in sporting perspective for successful sportsmen as there are, I guess, in the business world.
Yeah, one of the guys I always looked up to, apart from the people in my sport and your sport of table tennis, was Lendl. Ivan Lendl. I'm sure you remember him. He was pretty much known in this country as the guy that never won Wimbledon. What people don't know about him is he was number one in the world, I think, longer than anybody else had ever been, and he won, I don't know, 8 or 9 Grand Slams, and I think he still holds the record for the most tournament wins in a 10-year period. I think he won something like 180 tournaments in 10 years, beaten only actually by Martina Navratilova. She won even more.
Really?
But I heard Lendl asked, what was the difference between you and the rest of the players, Ivan? What made you so special? Was it your forehand? This guy asked him, and Lendl, being a very serious guy, looked at him and he said, no. He said, the difference between me and everybody else was that ever since I was 8 years old, I did far more than anybody could possibly expect. And I remember him saying that. Even now, it's just sent a cold shiver down my spine. And whether you're listening to this interview as a sports person or a table tennis guy, or you're in business, if you could do far more than anybody else could possibly expect, do you think you'd have a half chance of being really successful? Because I know Alan's nodding here, and I definitely am. I think almost that's what it's about, raising your game, and then raise it again, and then raise it again, and just keep going, keep pushing. That's what's going to get you successful, isn't it, at the end of the day?
And seeing that as a positive challenge, I love nothing better than when people used to say, oh, he can't do that, he's not good enough to do that. I love that challenge. And I remember sitting on a bench for England and playing a match, and my teammate, I won't say who it was at that time, went, oh, this guy is so good, he's got the best backhand in the world, look at that, nobody can beat him backhand to backhand. So there's me thinking, because I didn't like that sort of talk. No, I'm aware of how good this guy is. I've got to play him next. But actually, what I wanted to do is prove people wrong in that sense. And actually, not only am I going to try and beat this guy, I'm going to try and beat him in the area that you've just told me he can't be beat. So backhand to backhand, I'm going to try and take. And I think it's that mentality, Steve. that drove me. So turning things into a positive and a challenge rather than seeing it as a problem. That's again a key indicator for me that for kids that can be successful, particularly in a sporting term, they'll turn it into something creative and positive.
So many people in the business world say, well, I'm not a salesman. I'm not very good at selling. I don't like selling. Or I hate picking up the phone. If that's their belief, how good are they going to be at doing that? They're going to be crap at it. They're going to pick up the phone. They're going to fumble over their words, not do very well, put the phone back down again, and hate doing it even more. And that's just never going to get you anywhere. And we've got to have that attitude that you'd got. I remember once coming and watching you. I think it was in Belper in Derbyshire. You were playing for England against China, and China at the time, probably pretty much most of our lives, have been the best, or certainly one of the best countries in the world. And they had a pretty good team out there, and I said to you, so how do you think you'll get on today? He said, well, he said, I'll either win 2 or possibly 3 if I play really well. And I went, oh, fucking hell.
Wasn't sure of confidence, was it?
That's so not English, is it? It's sort of more to go, well, I don't know, they're a good team playing against China, but you were so confident. You knew you'd win 2 and you might win 3. And you know what? You won 2, which maybe you should have said, oh yeah, I'm going to win 3. Yeah, I'll win 3, Steve. No problem.
I probably wouldn't have the same answer today on that one with a bit of experience. Put yourself under pressure. And
I admire that. It's something I remember, and this, again, we're looking at, whatever it was 30 years ago, and it's something I remember, and it's important. It comes back to the old thing: if you think you're going to win or think you're not, you're probably right. And you got to go out there believing you were going to win. Another friend of ours, Kevin Beardsley, often used to say to me, I used to go on the table against a player called Kenny Jackson. And he said, you never believed you were going to win, Steve. And I used to argue with Kev. I said, no, I do. But I think deep down inside, I didn't. I thought that, and I proved myself right many times.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So we're sort of coming towards the end of the interview and our time together. I want to ask you about the future. Where, what's the future for you, and what table tennis is something we're really passionate about. I'd love to know what's the objectives in terms of what you're doing, and how where you think table tennis can go as a sport, and maybe table tennis in England.
Well, I mean, obviously I've been involved from being 16 years of age. As an international player, and I've been involved in performance level right up to today. I'm probably involved in what I consider as the most interesting project that I've been involved in as a coach, which is developing our programs for the young players. And we've also got more coaches in that setup than what we've ever had at the moment, and I'm loving it, Steve. It's a real challenge. We haven't got a structure certainly not like China or the Asian countries, so we're not going to produce a production line of players year on year in that sense. We just haven't got the volume and the kids that can give that much commitment. And even the best countries in Europe have obviously got clubs that can allow kids to play far more often at a higher level than what we've got. However, what we are starting to put in place now over a period of time is a system that's going to really give the kids that, with that mentality that I had as a young player and you had as a young player, those kids that want to get involved and want to try and find out how good they can become at the sport, there's now an opportunity. So for that 9, 10, 11-year-old that really wants to know how good they can be and what it's going to take, there's an opportunity for them. So I'm really enjoying being immersed in that project at the minute. and obviously at the top end of our game, I'm working with the coaches as well. And we've got, the men at, Liam Pitchford is right at the top of the world.
What's he ranked now? It's about 10, is he, something like that? 12?
He's about 12 in the world, and he's very close to getting inside that top 10. On his day, he is in there. He's proved that. He's beaten the world.
He beat Mal Long, didn't he? I remember a little while ago watching him on YouTube, and
he's a much more mature athlete person than he was a couple of years. He's learning, he's learning rapidly.
Yeah.
And there is nothing stopping the likes of Liam going to an Olympic Games this summer, and being able to compete with every single player there on his day, one match at a time. That's how good he is. And I think, for the youngsters to be inspired and see that you can do that, even coming from a country like England that hasn't got professional clubs really, we can still be the best in the world if we do the right things and we make the right choices and commit to that work. Yeah. So, I'm excited about the work that we're doing, and I've no intention to leave this sport. I love it much today as I did the day that I started.
I think things have improved so much since our day, haven't they? We were often practicing in freezing cold church halls and in rooms above pubs and all sorts of places, and the standard of coaching, was, great guys often who helped us. I don't think I ever paid a coach as such, and it was all voluntary, and I thank everybody who helped me, and I'm sure you do the same.
Oh, definitely. And the fact that it was hard, Steve, was probably the reason that we were able to get to a good level. Because what we don't want to do here is make it easy for the kids.
No.
Kids have got to be prepared. This is a tough journey, whether it's sport or business. They've got to be prepared for a rough ride. They've just got to learn how to manage themselves when these tough times.
And the tough times at the moment make it even more difficult, don't they?
The ones that come through this, and had a conversation with you prior to the interview about the kids in our program, that actually the majority, nearly all of them, are as enthused as now coming back, even though they've not been able to pick a bat up for the majority of this period of time.
To play in, and
they're desperate, and they're keen to get back into the sport. And, and it's those sort of kids that will be successful in our sport, but there's lots of life lessons in what's happening right now, and the journey that you have in table tennis. There's a lot of life lessons there for me as well.
I agree. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, I'll not take any more of your time. Thank you ever so much. It's been brilliant to catch up with you. It's been brilliant to talk to you. I think we could keep going for the next 5 hours, but I don't think we should probably do that. So thank you ever so much, Alan Cooke, for being here. If people want to take up table tennis, just give us the website. What this Table Tennis England website?
Yeah, Table Tennis England website. There's loads of information, loads of contact details on there. It's the best sport in the world.
It is, and we're very biased. So thank you ever so much. If people want to know more from me, go to steve-mills.com, and I'd love to help you to raise your business game, and one day if you raise your table tennis game, you might be talking to Alan. So thank you very much, Alan, and thank you everybody for listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.